Ah, it's a beautiful evening in the creek, isn't it, David? What a wonderful day for some idea fishing, where we catch the right inspiration for our writing and start reeling it in. Ah, is there anything better?
There sure isn't, Donald. Idea fishing is where it's at. Man can be a man out here. Or at least a writing man. Isn't that right, Captain?
Aye, me bread hooks once held a wench with fast deck cargo, but alas, she be all lap clap in order to be get spliced, so I be gone like the clappers and became an an's bollock on a beach.
What?
Never mind, just be happy he took us up this creek to go idea fishing. Oh, and there's some idea fish there at the brook.
Oh yeah, there they are. I think I see some plot perch, setting salmon, and a school of character carp. Is the bait ready, David?
Yep, here you are. Let's go fishing for some ideas, Donald.
Arr, me anchor's at loose ends, so ye lads be cracking on while I be swinging the lead.
What?
Ooh, I've got something. I think it's a character carp.
Get it, David, get it!
Ah, she's a fighter. Come on, come on. Yeah, take that, character carp.
Whoa, what'd you catch?
I think it's a rebellious sidekick who plays as the instigator for the protagonist's conflict. That's a great character to use for my writing.
Wow, good job. I'm just waiting for anything to latch on. Come on, fish, give me some love.
Oh, I got another one. It's a plot perch.
Show off.
Oh, that one was much easier to reel in. I guess he's got less to live for.
Ah, yes, a depressed fishman without a fish wife or fish kelpies to speak of. I can relate.
Ooh, the plot from this perch is so gripping. It involves a heist of a government building run by the protagonist's love interest, and they don't know about it until midway through the act. Next big story, here I come.
Glad your idea fishing is going so well, David. I'm not feeling competitive at all.
Ahoy, we be straight as the crow flies, yet ye be at beam ends. Bear up, open your ears to the catgut scrapers and cease ye spewing of bilge water.
What?
Oh my gosh, I've got another one! Jeez, these fish are just dying to get reeled up by me.
What do you have this time, David?
This one's really strong and really big. This one could take hours of fighting.
You have fun with that, David.
It's so big, so strong, so... Yeah! Who's your superior idea, fish? Bow before me!
Arr har, ye be happier than a pickled sandboy with 3 sheets to the wind and the worst faffs at the rudder.
What?
Well, at least I'm good at writing books without idea fish. Yeah, I don't need to be fishing for any ideas. I'm a good enough writer as it is. I get my inspiration from movies, video games, and sometimes, every so often, the occasional book. And it works out pretty well. Even without idea fish, it goes swimmingly. I'm a good writer. I am a good writer. I am.
Oh my goodness! I caught a setting salmon!
Oh, freaking kill me.
Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of The Ritwit, the podcast equivalent to 2 quill pens and a junk-filled, perpetually swirling vacuum cleaner.
Isn't it just?
Isn't it just? No, yeah, 2 quill pens. But yeah.
How have you been?
Yeah, I've been doing pretty well. I do have to admit, though, the 2 twits that talk about writing line is more fun for me, but that's okay. I'm doing.
That's like our standard.
That is our standard.
Standard universal tagline for our whole podcast. It's not necessarily
every single episode necessary. I get you.
Yeah.
Speaking of every single episode, we've got a big announcement to make.
Yes.
You want to tell them more about this?
I would love to, David. Why? That's
Who am I?
Today. I keep thinking you're me. I wonder if it's like a Freudian thing. It's like
I guess it could be.
I don't know, but like I'm no.
So yes, Donald, please
major.
tell us more about this new thing that we have to announce.
This new thing, got it. So we're changing to weekly. Yay! Everyone party, celebrate.
Yay,
you get more of us. I mean, actually,
party.
It's probably the same amount as us, but spread out more. So
yes, that is true. More frequent uploads.
Yes, I'm probably gonna aim for every Wednesday. These are gonna be out. Originally it was going to be Thursday, but then I was thinking about my professional Facebook account and how when I announce things on the week, I'm like, actually Wednesday fits better, so...
Gotcha. I was actually thrown for a loop.
Yeah, I know. Like, I realized I hadn't told you, so I'm just gonna...
Oh, okay, Wednesdays. Anyway, yeah, so you're right. And so we're recording...
so what we do instead...
Well, we're putting out multiple episodes
per
month, as opposed to one, which we've been doing for over a couple of years now.
We'll just basically one every Wednesday. And then they'll come in often in groups of 4. So we do one topic for 4 episodes, and we spread it throughout that. And so each one's like a part of a certain thing, because I don't think we could do 4 separate writing topics every month. Maybe we could, maybe at some point, but not now. I'm not trying it now.
I just have to wonder how much filler we'd need to do that, though.
It's not a problem for us to make filler, though.
No, well, it's not a problem for us to make filler, but how much of the episode is good content versus filler? Anyway,
you think any of this is good content?
One other thing that this does affect, though, is that we're actually kind of splitting up the way that we used to do the show.
Right.
Because we have more frequent uploads now, we're not doing all of our regular segments every single episode.
Yes.
I mean, it's not always easy for us to come up with new things that we're going to rip off every single week. And so in this set of 4... we're going to do each of our normal segments, what we would have writ, and what will we rip off from this month, in different episodes. So we're going to split those up.
The first episode in the set of 4 is going to be the what will we rip off from this month, and then the third one is going to be what we have writ. So
exactly. And we'll also make sure to, I mean, every time we'll put our contact information in, but if we get, like, fan mail feedback and stuff that you want us to read on the air, we'll try and save those for the last in the set of 4.
Yeah, sounds good. Well. Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. What do you think? I mean, we'll find out, won't we?
We'll find out. I mean, this is an experiment for us, too, so hopefully you like it, listeners. Get more of us. It's going to be a lot harder on our recording schedule.
But thankfully, since you're usually only available to record something once a month, we just record them all at once. But we can do that. Behind the curtain, peeking.
I wasn't gonna do the peek behind the curtain, but okay.
Everyone knows everything now.
Everyone knows it all.
We are pure naked to
we
our
are
audience,
not
metaphorically
professional.
Naked.
We are not professional. That's what we are.
I can get that out if you want. I can edit that out.
Well, I don't particularly care. I'm just thinking it'd be funnier to let it go and see if anyone noticed.
Everyone's
like we get
notice.
to the end of episode 4. It's just like, oh my god, we've been recording for so long.
We'll find out. Let's see. I'm leaving all this in, actually.
Editor's executive decision. Anyways, so as we said, we're splitting up the regular segments, and we will have one theme for this set of 4, and we'll see how it goes. Now, I mean, we get to take a deeper look into a lot of topics.
Yeah,
so
I think this allows us to go a little deeper in it and spread out more and like get our thoughts more in a better sort of aligned way. And speaking of alignment.
We haven't even done the segment, though.
I know, but I'm just saying that's what we're going to do, but then we'll get to it. Okay, fine. I thought I was doing so well with my perfect segue. You ruined it.
Such a forced perfect segue. Anyway.
It's not forced, it was flawless. Okay, yeah, well, usual segment.
Okay, I'll give you it was a flawless segue if we were actually segueing to what you were trying to do.
I'm really excited for this set of 4 episodes we're going to do.
Okay, so as mentioned by Donald, we're going to do what will we rip off from this month.
Yes.
Here. So go ahead, and why don't you tell us what you're going to rip off?
Will do. Hey, guess what, David? I read another book.
Ooh!
And guess what? It was a non-fictional account of a historical time period.
Oh my god.
And guess what? It wasn't dinosaur times. Listeners, we had to edit out a full hour of him screaming "what" there. So, flawless editing, guys.
Thanks for all the work on that. I really need a drink of water now.
Oh, it's not like it's that hard. I just take the hour and just select all, delete. Okay.
God dang it, stop making me laugh. My throat's still raw.
I'm so naturally funny. That was a weird voice to say that.
Suit yourself.
Anyways, I read Only Yesterday. It's a reflection on the events, the standards, the pastimes, and the general living of the 1920s.
We're in 20s, baby.
It's about what the standard American family is up to day by day, what they do for fun, what they do for work, as well as all the big political and societal events. Like, Mr. President, what was this? Something Harding? It was like Will Harding? I don't know. President Harding, I forgot his first name. I read this book very well, listeners. President Harding's scandals and the Big Red Scare, but not the one in the 50s, like an earlier one right off the back of World War One. It's really interesting. There's different sort of stuff about the things I didn't know. I didn't remember exactly when Babe Ruth was a thing, and it was in fact the early 1920s. So there was a huge movement of rebelliousness that's really started as the 20s went on. At first, people were kind of they didn't really know what to do after the war ended and such, but then they started going out more. They went to the movies, they went dancing, and they were more open about it. So
true.
And
also prohibition was a thing.
Yes, and actually I didn't realize that people were actually pretty for it. It wasn't just a thing that the government tried to oppress on people like I assumed it would be, because I didn't think anyone would willingly give up drinking. But
well, I suppose everybody has their own opinion on it.
But then once it happened and the country went dry, people were like, "Oh, actually, this is a really bad idea. I want some vodka right now."
Us speakeasies, but this is not a history lesson, other than saying that you're planning to rip off the 19. Wait, why are you reading this?
Why the hell am I reading this? That is a great question, David. It's actually to help me work on a new story idea that I'll talk about and what we would have read 2 weeks from now. Or, an hour from now.
Ding! Wait, hold on, that should be a...
That's true. So yeah, I read this to intentionally rip stuff off from it. It's not like I read something I'm like, "Oh, that's good, I'll rip that off." No, I read this specifically for ripping off research. Preemptive ripping off procedure. That's legal, right?
Hey, it's just called research, is it not?
I suppose. But I had to make it sound more hardcore.
Hardcore. You had to be pushing the envelope. That's why speakeasies are
pushing the boundaries. All right, so what have you ripped off, David? What will you rip off?
Well, it's a good question. I actually found quite a few different, inspirations that all came from my watch of the show Ultraman Tiga. Not Taiga, though it looks like tiger. Tiga is how they pronounce it. The show is a revival series of sorts for Ultraman. The full season hadn't aired in the prior, 15 years before this series came out. And so they tried a bunch of new things. And a couple of their plots birthed ideas that I've at least typed down so I don't lose them.
Nice.
One in particular I'll share here is there's one episode where a monster literally grows to view friends as sustenance. So he cannibalized his entire race to grow big and strong and take out his vendetta against the humans that created him.
Sounds like a mess.
It is a mess. But these guys are trying to appeal to this sense of reason and say, "Oh, we're your friends." But his idea of friendship is that they simply exist to serve my biological needs, and so he literally is like, "Oh, well, I'm going to eat you now." It was great.
Oh,
but anyway, it got me thinking. It got me thinking about how would a race that's raised on the idea of cannibalism as life, this is literally all that they know. They don't know another way, so they just grow up with it. Well, I don't know how much growing up they could do. But, not sure how badly I want to write this story, honestly, but it is fun to envision all of, the radical differences.
Yeah,
so your
I
best friend is the one that you fight through this, small little peek there. I thought of that there is this, each generation has a big gladiatorial thing, so they figure out who's going to be the leader.
And who's going to be the
survivor. The survivor gets to eat all the other people to survive.
Right.
Because, it's a thing.
That sounds interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm, again, not sure how much I really want to write this, but it is.
Well, sometimes ideas just come to you.
It's radically different from our society, and I think that'd be fun to explore.
Yeah.
Not terribly think about for too long otherwise, however.
Right.
Also, the main love interest character in the show, Tiga, didn't get the recognition on screen about knowing the main character's secret, that he was the Ultraman. But put it all together, all of a sudden, near the end, and it was kind of sudden. I actually wasn't fond of this choice from a narrative perspective. Right. But the reason I liked that they liked that move, they treated the passage of time in other ways throughout the show.
Right.
And so, like, there are things that it's not simply, oh, the next day she's suddenly putting this together when she hasn't for the past 6 months. No, there's a lot longer time implied between episodes and whatnot. So obviously, she's trying to figure this out and eventually intuits it.
Makes sense.
But they didn't show most of the stuff on screen. I mean, it must happen piece by piece because time is passing,
right,
even if the audience doesn't see it. And so I'd like to have something that occurs similarly, although admittedly my instinct is that all of those moments in particular should be on page. Like, she should have literally seen him transform to figure it out.
Probably makes sense.
Whereas she didn't. And so it's just like, what? But, sorry, not an hour this time.
No
there were a couple other ideas as well from different sources within the show, but we don't have all week, so let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. That sounds good. I'm glad you didn't scream for an hour again. That might have been a pain to edit. So even though it's all just delete again, but still.
What do you mean? It's not anyway. So, listeners, our inaugural set for this new format.
Yes,
we are talking about the D&D. Well, sorry, go ahead.
The character alignment system. I believe it was actually first come up with by D&D, Dungeons and Dragons.
As far as I've seen, that's correct.
Yeah, but it's really good at, like, categorizing your characters, and it's also just kind of interesting to see where they'd fall on this spectrum. It's not really more of it's more like a grid.
Yeah. I kind of treat it like there are two sliders, honestly.
Yeah, and one of them is...
You kind of go from one... they said... What was it? Morals and ethics.
Yes.
Are the two sliders.
Yes, exactly.
So morals between good and evil, I think, is the one there.
Yeah, and ethics is like plays by the rules or does not play by the rules.
Law going to chaos, and of course neutral's in the middle. And the easiest way to visualize this is as a grid.
Yeah, a 3x3 grid.
All of the lawfuls on the left side, all of good across the top row.
Chaos on the right,
kind of
evil on the bottom.
Exactly, and neutral in the center. There are other ways to represent this, and I actually came across some of them in our research looking to prepare for this episode. There is a really cool, like, ring model that is also possible.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
It also shows that there's kind of like degrees of this stuff.
Yes.
Obviously, true neutral would be in the center of this ring, but you can go between alignments pretty easily, whereas the grid, it might not be so easy to visualize that.
Right.
However, before we go any further, we do need to credit two very important sources for our research.
Yes. You've been going to read from...
Well, in particular, I was reading one. It is a website called Easy Damus. It's a D&D like guide site, and and they have a page about alignment and a lot of details, so we'll probably do some direct quotes, and
I will provide the link to it on this episode in the description.
Probably all of them. The other one that Donald is doing is different. So
it's basically just TV tropes. I'm just reading that. But
they actually had a big session on alignment, apparently. So
they do a lot of different things about tropes. Like, it's all about tropes, and there's, like, every sort of trope you can think of is here, and the character alignment is a trope, and so all the different sort of things, and it explains a lot of them, so... It's pretty good. I like it. I use it a lot. I'm a troper. I don't really edit things, but I look at them.
All the time. So,
yes.
Those are our two sources. We'll go ahead and put links in the description for you if you want to access this stuff yourself.
Yes,
but obviously, this is just a cursory look. This is not a... we're not going to try and dive into why characters are better one way or another too much, but we're just going to give you an overview. If you want to do more research, we recommend you go to those places.
Yes, exactly. I will provide the links. All right, so today, this episode, we are just going to define the 9 types of alignment. Starting, and we're going to go in kind of like a ear of corn, where each thing is 3 kernels long, and we're just going down. I don't know why that's the one I thought.
Well, okay, some people eat it going vertically, some people eat it going horizontally. I don't care which way you eat corn.
We're typing. And
fair enough. Okay, that's
or reading, I guess. So So yeah, and I have a fun metaphor we'll use for all of these. So we'll talk.
I also came up with names. The site I looked at, EC Thomas, has like a name for all of these types.
Yes.
As an example, I also came up with an individual one.
Yes, just so listeners know, we do have our own thoughts.
It's not like we're just relying on their research. That'd be very unprofessional.
We're not just parrots. We understand what we're doing. So. Okay.
Because we are better than you, listeners. Anyway.
Ever so slightly, but maybe. I don't know. Okay. Okay,
so the alignment system.
Here, I'm just going to list them all off, and then we can go by them individually so people know what we're doing. So,
okay.
Lawful good. Neutral good. Chaotic good. Lawful neutral. True neutral. Chaotic neutral. Mm-hmm. Lawful evil. Neutral evil. Chaotic evil. Boom. I didn't even look at anything. I mean, that's not that hard, but...
Good job, Donald. No, but the one thing I do want to point out, sometimes you'll hear people refer to that center one as neutral. But since neutral exists on both axes of this, both sliders, that we both prefer the term true neutral.
Right, so that's how I've seen it lined as too, so...
But I've seen people refer to it simply as neutral.
Makes sense,
anyway,
but
don't worry about that too much.
Yep.
One thing I do want to quote: alignment is a tool for developing your character's identity.
Yes.
So obviously, the point of it is not to say that it must be this way all the time.
Yes. It's not like each character has only these 9 rigid things they have to stick in. They can be flexible. They can move around. There's also a gradient to it. That's not the word I'm thinking of.
Alignments offer a broad swath of personalities, individual philosophies within, such that people within the same alignment aren't even identical.
Yes, exactly. I have a lot later on. We'll do a lot of different examples, and you can see how different they are from each other. So,
quote: in addition, few people are completely consistent. Close quote.
We're so proper.
I try.
Okay, so let's start with lawful good.
Sure.
Lawful good is the goody two-shoes. The guy who, truth, justice, American way sort of thing. They're like the knight in shining armor. They uphold the law. They're very full of truth and justice, as I said, but sometimes they might believe in it a little too much.
Yeah, that's true. The name that they came up with here was the Crusader.
Makes
and
sense.
You think of somebody who went on the Crusades. They have a fervent belief. It's not just it's not just acceptable. It's just something that they fight for. They're willing to fight for it.
It's law that they must uphold. It's their duty. It's their purpose. And,
I also like the term protector.
Yeah, as well as upholding it, it's also someone who just follows it. So
that's true as well.
So the example I give here is if you have a street. This is the guy who always crosses the street only when the light says so.
Are we returning to this metaphor?
Yes, you bet your ass we are.
God, I don't even remember all the stuff we did. Crap.
I know. I got it. I remember it. Side note, guys, we've tried this episode before. It was technical issues, but no, not important.
Well, if you're not going to let them peek behind that curtain,
I'm letting them peek a little. They were just.
Okay. So when it's your problem, it's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now I'm glad I got that straightened out.
So yes, lawful good. Real quick to mention good. Yes. Sorry, we probably should have done this first. Okay. Good people, they value life such that they protect it. They are altruistic.
Yes.
As a trait, they will make personal sacrifices for other people. Mm-hmm. Again, this is a guide. This is not strict. So, they might not always choose to sacrifice themselves, but generally they're the ones saying, if the door is falling and I need you to get out, you get out while I hold the door up.
Right. Okay, so next one. We got... Or are we good for lawful good?
Well, that was good. I didn't define law. No, I'm kidding. I'll do that later. Go ahead.
Well, you want to do it? You can do it now.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to go neutral good, by the way. So if you want to do lawful, you can do it now.
Well, we'll have law later as well.
Oh, okay. If you insist. All right, neutral good. I've read a good thing to describe this one. is, rather than just like good or like kind, it's like sweet. It's like someone who's is just good. Doing good is more important than upholding the law, is what I'm reading here.
I honestly
law's
think
not a
that
bad thing, but just be a good person. Just be a good person just for the sake of being a good person. That's neutral good.
I think the term benevolent would apply quite well.
Yes.
They benefit other people by the way they live, but they're not worried about if it's always, written in code. If that makes sense.
So basically, this is the guy who, when crossing the streets, can often wait a little because there's an old lady in a walker that has to cross first. And even though he was there first, he's letting her go first. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't remember this metaphor at all, do you?
I know, but that's what I'm going to say. This one, I'm going to...
As long as you manage to not lose track of this one, then we're okay.
Well, no, I'm planning on losing track. That's the fun of it.
The benefactor.
Yes.
I also came up with this one. This is kind of obscure, I suppose, for me, but
no, okay. Go ahead.
The one that I thought of was the hermit.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I mean, hermits can be bad too, but
they're neutral. They kind of exist outside of law because they usually live by themselves, right?
Right. Like, I think
every time you run across a hermit, anytime I read about this nice hermit, they usually are taking people in that just happen to, like, fall right outside their dwelling or something, and they bring this person in and take care of them. They're, inherently good, but it has little to do with, order or chaos.
I think I'm neutral good, for what it's worth. I mean, I follow the law. But, I'll admit, there are some times where I push the gas on the yellow light, or it snowed a lot the other day. Who knows if I was on the lines, but who cares?
Well, in that case.
But no. I was trying, I'm a good person, I'm an altruistic person, not to brag, but it's what you should be.
That's fair.
I break for animals. I broke for a squirrel once. I posted about it on Facebook too. It's a true story. I'm pathetic.
Okay. Speaking of neutral on this ethical axis, I do have to point out because both axes use the term neutral, so I do have to specify here the ethical one. So between law and chaos, this person has a normal respect for authority, but no compulsion to cleave one way or the other.
Yeah.
They're generally honest, but can be tempted to deceive others.
Yes.
Even if it has no benefit for the party that's being deceived. For example, I don't see, fudging the truth to tell a little kid that something awful has happened to be necessarily, like, deceiving someone.
Right.
If they're not really ready to handle. I don't think that's an evil thing, and it's not necessarily chaotic either, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, speaking of chaotic, if you're ready.
Sure.
All right, chaotic good is the next one. Free spirits, but good ones.
I think what you're trying to say is that they are forces of good, but agents outside law.
Yes, they're opposing tyrants and other oppressive types. They're also easily bored. Someone like me. Maybe I am chaotic good. No, I'm definitely a goody-goody sometimes, so I'm not chaotic good. But
well, okay, so put it this way: can you apply this label to yourself and you're chaotic good? The rebel.
You live for freedom and adventure, but you leave a helping hand to the downtrodden. Think of like Aladdin or Robin Hood. We'll get to examples later, but
we'll talk more about examples in the last part of this set of episodes. But anyway. Another one that I came up with is the anti-hero.
This is true. Although anti-heroes can also be neutral as well. Like
right, they can be more neutral. I'm not suggesting that they are only chaotic good, but anti-heroes that generally lean towards truth, justice, and the American way relatively are going to be chaotic good compared to like a true neutral. Right.
Right.
So before we depart from the good row here, I do want to throw out something. There has been a lot of work done since the alignment system was first published talking about how, obviously the evil alignments people didn't really want to use in D&D, its source, right?
Right.
They didn't want to use the evil alignments because, it was really hard to live up to alignments. It's really hard to live up to a strong alignment anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
But having like middling alignments honestly could have drawbacks too. And so they did some research about this, trying to figure out a way to make it more appealing to players.
Yeah.
And one thing that they did was, I'm referencing Easy Damas's work, but I don't think they were the only ones to do this at all, because they referenced like other psychologists and whatnot. But
right.
They do mention what each alignment views nicely about themselves.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
What is good about their own alignment. So for the good characters, bar none, they view themselves as humane.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit more about which law and chaos part comes in later, I suppose, if I'll throw it in there. But the good characters are humane.
Right.
And then I'll leave the neutral and evil descriptions for later.
Also, I read something that's a little interesting. For the D&D versions of these things, they often have different creatures or races representing these things. Sure. I can read these out real quick. Lawful Good is more like angels or like monks.
Sure.
Or knights. Neutral Good is like the guardian celestials, like the gods that kind of like make everything the way it is, but the ones that are good but don't really have human laws.
Of course,
but they don't go against them. And like the chaotic good is like the fays, like the elves, like the more mischievous elves, but the good-hearted ones. But
or maybe dwarves would apply there too, unless they have them separate.
Well, dwarves I think are pretty orderly.
Well, I'm just saying that, like, when I've read a lot of depictions of dwarves as like
I guess they can be whatever they want, but
they regret. They have some like gripe with human society. And so
I guess from a human
chaotic
perspective, they might be that way. Okay, well, anyways, all right.
So we'll move to the next row. These are all
neutral, the
folks.
neutral row. All right, first
starting
off,
with lawful neutral.
Yes, lawful neutral. Law and order is more important than whether or not you're good and evil, as per quoting this TV tropes thingamajig.
Real quick from my end as well. Law, whether you're good, evil, or neutral, law respects authority, tradition, and their own promises. They are obedient. They are reliable.
Yes.
Sometimes, however, there are some drawbacks as well. They can be closed-minded. They cleave to tradition almost too much. And they lack adaptability.
Absolutely. They are like, this is the way it is, no matter what. Right or wrong, this is what we do. I don't care, what the morality is. This is the rule, we're doing it. And I'm going to enforce it.
They believe if everyone acts lawfully, it makes a society where people can rely on each other.
Yes.
And they expect others to, live up to that bargain. And they will judge people who don't.
Yeah, exactly. These are like the standard sort of cops. The ones that aren't like the goody two-shoes cops. Good cop, bad cop, these are the middle ones. The neutral cop. Ah, dang, I forgot the chaotic good street thing. Oh, well. Moving on.
We can go back.
I can't even think of a way to do it anyway. So,
chaotic good.
Chaotic good is the guy who runs the light in order to save someone's life.
All right, fair enough.
Lawful neutral is the guy who always he upholds that, making sure lawful neutral is the one who's catching the chaotic good one running the light. Because even though he's saving someone's life, it's the law and you broke it, Buster, so you are in big trouble. He's the cop that's always going to catch you if you do anything wrong for whatever reason.
Well, I was going to say the lawful neutral guy is like, hey, I was here first, that means I should go ahead of you. Not going to wait.
I mean, that's how order works, so maybe, yeah.
Maybe. But anyway, the term that they came up with is the judge, and I came up with the term jury, which of course led to the joke, and executioner.
The executioner is more evil neutral. I mean, no, lawful evil, I mean. Lawful evil.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about where that falls on the moral scale, but on the moral scale. But, it's just one of those things that they will judge people freely because they are neither expressly good nor evil. So.
Right. And for D&D purposes, the creatures they often have as lawful neutral are like the mechanical ones, the goblin sort of contraptions. The robots that just follow their programming.
Speaking of robots real quick. There's one thing that I did want to bring up, and that is the animal thing.
Yes. What is the animal thing?
The animal thing. So, this is a quote. Animals and other creatures incapable of moral action are neutral.
Yes. Animals do things just to do them, just because that's how nature is, and that's what their gut tells them, what their instincts tell them, all that stuff.
They lack the capacity for morally right or wrong behavior. They also, whether they are obedient or free-spirited, they do not have the moral capacity, I guess the ethical capacity is probably what they're trying to say here, to be truly lawful or chaotic.
Yes.
Like, one thing that was brought up, if you have an animal that will eat humans, is it truly evil? No. It doesn't have that sense of right and wrong to be truly evil. It's just trying to survive.
Absolutely.
And so you can't cast animals as good or evil, law or chaos. They are truly neutral.
Yeah. Although wasps, I think, are pretty evil. They're the ones that sometimes they sting for no reason just because it amuses them.
However, reading this quote brought up one fun thing that I want to ask Donald over there, the author of Megazoic, by Amazon.com. How about dinosaurs?
I mean, I'm assuming they're the same as any other animal.
Not the way you treat them in your story.
They're basically humans in dinosaur clothes, as you often like to say.
I know. That's why I couldn't miss this opportunity. Anyways,
of course.
Speaking of true neutral, are we good to move on?
Yes, true neutral. Sometimes known as neutral or even neutral.
Yeah, neutral is so silly. But I guess it makes sense.
Alright, so neutral. Alright, they just don't care. But they keep the balance, and that's all they do.
The Force.
They're like, this is my place in the world. You can treat it as whatever. I don't know.
One thing that strikes me here, the word they came up with for true neutral is undecided, as if all of these were a choice. And sometimes and to be fair, following law, choosing not to follow law is a choice. Being good or evil could be a conscious choice, but generally, as with law and order, law or chaos, following them is just kind of a habit.
Yeah, exactly. So true neutral could be just the standard car crossing the road. And yeah, he follows the law, or he doesn't. It doesn't matter. Actually, more often it's probably the pigeon. That's perched on top.
The road.
It could be the pigeon.
I got it. The pigeon is on top of the intersection, pooping freely on cars and humans.
Right, exactly. Unlike he's eating the seeds that
he's
fall.
Impartial.
It's this metaphor is always falling apart, but that's the fun of it.
Oh my god! I wish we could share with you the original recording because it got
I got the good
really
stuff.
Crazy.
So
one thing that I came up with though, if it's not an animal, because obviously animals apply here too, but
yes,
if it's a character, I tend to call them an enigma. Their motivations aren't really known to anyone.
Mm-hmm. And they can be guided one way or the other. In fact, they're pretty easily manipulable, I'd imagine.
To a certain point, I suspect so. While we're on the subject of true neutral, there's one thing I want to read about neutral with regards to good and evil, now that we're on that row.
Yeah.
Neutral people, on the good-evil scale, only are committed to those who have relationships with them.
Yes.
If it's someone else that they don't know, they won't care.
I guess
they won't necessarily kill innocent people, innocent bystanders, but they also won't make sacrifices on behalf of unfamiliars.
I think the best trait, the most defining trait for all the neutral stuff is apathy. Like,
fair.
They're indifferent. They don't act. They act natural, but they just. Whatever.
Remember how I brought up that all of the good characters believe they are humane?
Yes.
All of the neutral characters believe they are realistic.
Makes sense to me.
Also, in particular, with true neutral, they also believe they are practical, as well as realistic. All of the neutral... So, between law and chaos, all of those neutral characters, all of the ethically neutral characters, believe then they are practical.
Yes.
All of the morally neutral characters believe they are realistic.
Yes.
So true neutral is the intersection of those two.
Yes, logical is a good thing as well too.
Yep. So,
All right.
are we good to go to chaotic neutral now?
Yes, the ultimate free spirit.
That's literally the name they came up with from Easy Damas is free spirit too.
Yeah, well, free spirit also applied for the chaotic good, but this is like the ultimate free spirit because it's the one that like really does whatever they want.
They are in it for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Like
I prefer the term the wild card.
yeah, like they can be good people, but they just have a wild like side to them.
So Deadpool, for example.
Yes, or Jack Sparrow.
Well, we'll talk more about examples when we get to.
You're the one who said it first. That's fine.
Well, I don't think you had Deadpool in your list, is why I brought it up.
I didn't, but well, hey, I might not have Jack Sparrow on my list. We'll find out. I do.
Well, we'll find out.
I do. I do, listeners, though. So we'll see.
Anyway, one thing about chaotic people is chaotic characters all believe they are independent.
Yes.
They're in it for themselves. Whether
Yes.
they're serving force of good, evil, or, somewhere in between. But they are in it for themselves, and they believe that they are free from order. That makes them independent, and that's a good quality.
Right, so these are the people that when they drive, they just run all the lights. Now, if there's people in the way, they won't run them over.
If they feel like it.
Yes, if they feel like it. If they're going leisurely, they'll stop at the lights.
And they won't run over the little kid with her mother in traffic. Yeah.
Or anyone. They usually run over anyone. We'll get to when people get run over.
Oh, jeez.
So,
oh, boy. Okay,
yeah, but that's basically chaotic neutral. Yeah, they're like, let's see.
I don't all but that one term. Okay.
These are like pirates. These are like cowboys. These are like the ones that are like just they're really out for themselves and they do what they want, do what they please.
Right.
And it's not good, it's not bad. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be bad. Doesn't really matter. They just do what they want.
So now we're out of neutral, assuming you're okay to move on.
I mean, I'm
And
okay to
we'll
move
go
on.
to-
And then we're going to go to the evil.
We're going to go to the last row on the grid, which is the evil row, starting with lawful evil.
Yes. These are the big bads, the ones that of the oppressive empire. They're the ones that uphold the law, and they will kill those that don't.
I was about to say, they make their own, usually, is also a trait.
Well, they make their own, but they expect others to follow that same law.
Right.
Like this is
well,
the
I mean,
empire.
they wouldn't make it
This
if they
is-
did. They wouldn't make it if they didn't want people to follow it, right?
Yes, this is the equivalent of the guy who is sitting by the intersection in a tank and shoots people who run the red light. And blows up their cars.
Yeah. Yep. We're back to this.
And kills everyone in them.
We're back to this. Oh my gosh.
If anyone is speeding the slightest bit, boom!
Yep. So
Out they go.
the name that they came up with here is the Dominator.
Makes sense. Like a lot of times...
They mentioned two terms. The name was the Dominator, but they mentioned one thing. These people are often called diabolical
Yes.
because Diablo, devil in, I believe, Spanish.
Right.
Devils are the epitome of lawful evil, and so these people are referred to as diabolical.
Yes, like the devil, like Satan. He's the lawful evil because he's the one who makes the rules in hell, and he's the...
I actually came up with two names for this one as well. Dictator,
Yes.
Tyrant.
Yes, Tyrant is a good one. Like, anytime you read a young adult novel with a dystopian sort of thing that the teenage heroes have to fight, these are often the bad guys.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
So...
Yeah, these characters, remember, lawful characters believe they are all honorable.
Mm-hmm.
What that sense of honor may imply probably varies depending on which, part of the moral scale they lie on, but they are honorable. Mm-hmm. They make a promise and they keep a promise. They uphold their own law.
For what it's worth, I think well-intentioned extremists, one of your favorite tropes, tend to be on this one. They can be others, but...
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like,
Although, I would say not all
maybe
of them
not
stay
maybe
here.
not well-intentioned.
Again,
Yeah, you're right.
as I mentioned earlier, this is a guide, and people aren't always consistent.
Maybe not lawful evil. Actually, maybe
Generally
well-intentioned
lawful
extremists
evil.
would probably will be a neutral evil.
Chaotic
Lawful
neutral. Maybe so.
I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
We'll find out. No, I'm kidding.
We won't find out. We'll never know.
Okay, so we'll move on to neutral evil.
Yes. Neutral. This quote on TV trips, I have to read this out. Sometimes known as the asshole alignment.
All right, fair enough. He just does things to mess with people because he
can't be sure which way they'll swing. You know, they're out for themselves.
If neutral good was the benefactor, then neutral evil is the malefactor.
The enforcer, or no, not the enforcer, but like the ones that like just. What do you mean?
The malefactor is somebody who is a bad influence. So a benefactor is somebody who benefits other people, right?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So the malefactor is somebody who has a negative influence on people. They just do things. So like this is probably the bully.
Yes. This is the guy who, when behind someone who is at the red light, who won't move, they use their car to push them forward. and
running over a poor bunny who couldn't get out of the way in the process.
Yep, that's the neutral evil.
That's neutral evil.
Oh, this intersection metaphor is the best.
Well, and now we've come up with like distinctly two versions of it, I believe.
Yeah, that's great. It's so flexible. So much flexible. You can do with it.
Anyway, I came up with another name for neutral evil: attempter. Somebody who sense. Is somebody they're trying to. Well, obviously the one that we read more about is the temptress, the person who diverts you to sin, so to speak. Yes. One thing I wanted to do though, I was trying to find something that was comparable to a hermit because malefactor, benefactor are opposites, and that had that same idea. And so I wondered, would recluse apply here?
Maybe.
Somebody who refuses to help other people but lives alone because they don't want to deal with law.
Well, I think also I'm reading here. These are the bad guys that sometimes actually might end up on the good guys' team briefly because it's better for them at the moment. Like, these are the bad guys that are willing to make a deal with the good guys in order to get what they want.
Deal with the quote-unquote devil.
Right, but like they're also the ones, they're helping the good guys because it helps them too. These are the bad guys that would be the most willing to do that.
Well, either of them are chaotic evil because, literally...
Well, chaotic evil do whatever they want,
Well, in instant moments, they might need to align with the good guys or whatever.
But then they could just as easily just be like, nope, and then they leave because that...
Are we good to move on? Speaking of
chaotic evil...
Okay.
Chaotic evil!
Yep. So, yeah. Chaotic evil, they came up with the name the Destroyer.
Yes, these are the evil free spirits. These are the guys that on the intersection take their car and run over everyone.
Everyone, bar none, for no reason.
Crossing the road, they probably have giant suspensions
run the red
car.
light. They run over the pedestrians who are walking on the light.
They got monster wheel big tires so they can run over the cars.
I just remembered. What was the... Oh my god. The one we did before, we had the firing squad mounted atop the intersection.
Yeah, they just go like...
which line? Well, I'm trying to remember. Was that Lawful Evil we used that for?
Well, no, I think it was Lawful Evil
just
when
waiting
they
to snipe
didn't
people
cross the
off.
So
they're trying to off the people that are breaking laws.
But these are the guys who just they get their monster truck, they run over everyone all over the intersection. This intersection is a mess. the stoplights toppled too. It's all gone.
Oh my god. Okay, but anyway,
Chaotic Evil's like, on to the next one.
they also refer to this as demonic because demons are the epitome of chaotic evil.
Yes. While the devil himself is lawful, the demons are chaotic.
Makes sense to me. The couple of names that I came up with, and I'll see if Donald agrees with me here. Monster.
Yes.
Narcissist.
Makes sense.
Narcissist, of course, they're all about themselves. They are the best. They are the chosen in whatever the arena, and so they act in their own self-interest only.
Yes, serial killers.
Whatever
are a good example
whatever
of
that does, whatever that looks like, it changes all the time, and that's why it's so hard to peg them down. Aside from they're chaotic people that align with evil.
Right.
There is one thing that I have not mentioned yet. I mentioned that all lawful characters believe they are honorable.
Yes.
I mentioned that all good characters believe they are humane. All neutral characters believe they are realistic. If they're morally good, neutral.
Right.
If they're ethically neutral, they're all practical. Mm-hmm. If they're all chaotic, all the chaotic characters believe they are independent.
Makes sense.
But what do all evil characters see themselves as?
What do they,
aside
David?
from that? Determined.
Makes sense.
And you notice that's not necessarily an undesirable quality.
Yes. Well, that's the way those
Which is
D&D
why-
people get people to play this.
Well, I mean, that's why they did all this research.
Uh-huh.
Just a spoiler alert for the next couple of episodes. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about the alignments and how to write them. But there's something I have in my notes here, and this is also for your benefit because I haven't told you about this yet.
Yes.
How is the alignment good? Why is the alignment dangerous?
Right.
So we'll talk about that more in the next couple of episodes where we get into writing these for your own works. Is it okay if we move to the close?
Yeah, I think let's move to the close now. So yeah, that's it. We that's defining all of them, and yeah, for the next episodes we'll talk more in depth about how all to write all of them, how to use them and such. So
exactly.
So that's it for this week.
We'll have some more information. Well, that's it for this week. If you want to get in touch with us, have any questions, obviously we're not done with this topic yet. We still got plenty of stuff to come. So
yeah, don't message us like,
questions,
where's the rest of it? We'll get to it.
we're getting there. It'll come out next week. Don't worry.
Yes.
Contact us, if you will, at Matt D. That's with 2 T's, please. At MatthewDonaldCreator.com. Your own email or the site's web contact us page.
Yes. Either one
will also work.
You have questions for either of us. Follow me if you want to follow me personally. Go to at Matthew Donald Creator on Facebook. I just passed 4,000 likes on that thing, so yeah. Matthew Donald at Matthew Donald 64 on Twitter and Matthew Donald 64 on Instagram. Why 64? Because I caught 64 idea fish a long time ago and I haven't caught any since. Alas.
All right, that's it from us.
All right, see you next week, guys. Keep on writing. Us two twits have talked about writing and we're done for this week.
Well, you didn't say your name if you wanted to sign in.
I'm Matt Donald and you're Matt David.
I'm Matt David, and see you next week. Thanks
Bye.
for listening.
The